Hey guys, welcome to Recovery Coaching Wellness. Hope you guys are all doing well today. My name is David, and I'm a certified recovery coach, and also in university for addictions counseling. And I also have lived experience with substances, both drugs and alcohol. So I'm going to leave my website in the description box. And if anyone is interested and wants to talk about, wants to do whatever you want to do, I don't mean whatever you want to do, but in a way that you want to contact me, I would recommend that you email me. But anyways, my number is on there. So I just wanted to bring up one topic today, and that is trauma. And I suffer with trauma myself. And I just studied this part in one of my courses in university, and I couldn't believe the statistics. So a recovery coach doesn't just help people who are using substances. It can be gambling, it can be a sexual addiction. But it's not we don't help people in a counseling capacity. What we do is, yes, we will hear the things that you have to say, but our goal is to say, hey, okay, how am I going to help this person? How am I going to guide them? Because it's going to be you speaking. I'm going to say, well, let's come up with a plan, and to make that plan incremental, small, measurable, like a smart recovery type thing. And there are all kinds of addictions, and there are all kinds of addictions and issues. So I also help people with mental health issues. And pardon me, I'm in a lot of pain in this video. So if I look like I'm in pain in these videos. The way I'm able to help people doesn't reflect what I'm like in these videos. So pardon me. So I also do suffer with trauma, and that's just briefly what I wanted to talk about today. Pardon me, my voice is going. I suffer with a lot of physical pain and stuff in my throat, so mind me. So I can also help people with pain too. But I can hold you accountable, come up with action plans, right? There's a lot of different things that we can talk about. But I just wanted to briefly touch on trauma. So I've had trauma in my own life, and I want to tell you a statistic that I think a lot of people don't know. And so people, I think today in society there's a lot more people than there used to be for certain. Probably because of drugs, probably because of the internet, probably because of just connectivity. It's easier to talk with people and to acquire PTSD. Why is that? Because people are much more likely when you're using a substance versus not using a substance, right? Say you're not using a substance. How likely are you to go and to go over into some strange place that you wouldn't usually go into? Maybe there are not so good people in that area, right? Because so when you're not using, you wouldn't go there. But let's say you had a few drinks. Excuse me. You had a few drinks, or you took some type of drug. All of a sudden, you find yourself like floating over to that area, right? And that's where things happen, assaults happen, fights happen, and rape happens. And with things like rape and stuff like that, sexual assaults include, and these are reasons for PTSD, CPTSD, is because, and the stats say that most domestic abuse and child abuse tends to happen, a lot of it don't take me for the exact stats as I'm saying, because I'm not giving you exact stats, while under the influence of alcohol. So people go somewhere when they drink more alcohol. That was me. I went to places where I should have never been, right? And then you end up getting in something that, you know, whatever it is you do, you know, and you wake up and you're like, oh no, you know, you remember something. Those things cause people trauma, and the only way, so once you have trauma, I can help you if you have trauma. I can help you talk through your trauma and help you set some type of goal for yourself. I don't know exactly what that is. That will differ for each individual person. But just know that talking with me, that it's a safe space. It's okay. I'm non-judgmental. And anyway, so I've been through those things and I understand it. You know, when it comes to trauma, one of the biggest reasons that people don't, you know, that people don't heal is because they don't want to speak about it, right? Because they're feeling a lot of shame. And pardon me for a sec. And that was me, certainly. You know, when you decide to put it this way, I'll just draw you a picture, a mental picture. So picture this. If you have trauma and you're having a very difficult time in your life and you're doing drugs and you're addicted to social media and all these things because of trauma, because it's the only thing that might, you know, distract you from that type of stuff, just think of it this way. When you have a trauma, let's just say something happened when you were, I don't know, like 10 years old or something like that. Or let's just say it happened at 14 and it really affected you. And you go on 15, 16, 17, you're just keeping it in, right? When you had that trauma, it was like someone took a knife and cut you, and then you ended up with a cut on your arm, but you never did anything about it. You didn't disinfect it, and you didn't put a Band-Aid on it. That's what trauma is like. You just leave it. It's just like sitting there festering. And even though you may be able to, you know, bury those types of things on the back of your mind, they eventually resurface in some ways, probably most of the time. And if you're using substances and you're going to places and doing all this other stuff, you're building up more traumas. You have more and more of those. So then you suddenly find yourself in places where you feel hopeless and you don't feel pleasure anymore. You're not happy. You know, you start getting in. This another thing I can help you with. Will guide you with. I'm not a specialist in this, but like food addiction. You know how it cascades and does that. So, and as time goes on, people become like suicidal. They cut themselves and do this type of stuff because they have no other way of releasing this type of stuff. And so what do you do? What do you do? The only thing you can do is introspect. It's not the only thing you can do, but it's a good idea. This is the Western way to look at it, right? We live in the West, so as there are different cultures, right? But it may still be looked at in the same way. It's just how you deal with people is different. I'm studying this in addictions counseling. Different cultures, we don't all fit the same model. So looking in a Western lens, right? How are you going to start to begin to heal from these things? I think it's pretty obvious. You're going to have to talk about them. And so if you talk about them with me, I'm non-judgmental. It's safe. I'm not going to speak to someone about your issue. I don't know. Maybe not all. I'm not going to say. Actually, I don't want to say that. I think recovery coaches. There are some recovery coaches who are very good, And when I look and I read stuff about recovery coaches, it differs from one recovery coach to the next. It really does. What kind of quality you're going to get from a person. And so they're very valuable these days, with the costs of, a lot of people can't afford these types of costs. With a therapist who's $250, that can be $200 American. That's like 275 Canadian. That's why I'm Canadian, where I live. Who can afford that? The likelihood of people not having insurance is probably pretty great. And in any case, I think you understand. And so I'll leave my website. And like I said, please contact me by email. And right now, the price that is on my rate is not the rate. It's not what it says there. It's much less. So if you'd like to contact me, if you'd like to talk about anything to do with any addictions and mental health, I can help you. When I begin off my videos, sometimes I'm not that well. I can't tell. It's because of my throat. I have a disorder of my throat, so it makes doing videos pretty tough. So you know how to contact me. I will leave that in the description box, and I hope you have a good day.